What's up, everybody? This is Joshua with Weird Gaming Adventure, and I'm going to introduce you to my dude Stu, who's going to introduce you to my dude Willy Beamish. Take it away, Stu.
Hello, I'm Stu the Adventure Brummy, and today we're playing the hot dog jumping frogging nostalgia fest that is The Adventures of Willy Beamish.
Willy Beamish was developed by Dynamix and published by Sierra in 1991. Initially released on disc for the Amiga, PC and Mac, a CD version for the PC and Sega Cd followed in 1993. Its most recent release was in 2017 from GOG.com, which includes the CD and disc versions. Willy is your typical 12-year-old, or at least he is at the start of the story. He hangs out with his friends, likes trouble and dislikes doing anything around the house. How his personality develops is really down to the player. Willy can either be a precocious brat, arguing with everyone about everything and generally causing mischief, or he can be a sweet lad who just wants an easy life. These choices are down to you based upon your actions. But be warned, the path of least resistance will make your playthrough a lot easier, because this is a Sierra game from a specific era, meaning you can die in a number of horrific ways. Don't behave? Well, you're off to military school. Don't look after your dog? The pound will take him. Stealing coins from a water fountain? The police will arrest you.
That doesn't seem so bad, does it? Well,
Push your sister too hard on the swing? You break her arms. Fake an illness at school? You receive some unnecessary injections. Meddle in the schemes of two middle-aged lunatics? Death by drowning.
and this isn't some kind of cutesy pixel art, it's not like Larry Laffer drowning in a toilet. This is like David Lynch directing Recess.
Set in the fictitious town of Frumpton, Willy must get through 4 days of general tomfoolery during summer vacation, with the main goal of getting to play in the World Nintari Championships.
I wonder who was hungover enough to accept that console name. Does anybody have any idea what we can call Willy's console? Thank you, thank you. We could take something like Nintendo and Atari and kind of put them together somehow. Nintari, perfect. No, I didn't mean literally. No, it's fine. No, that's fine. Move on. Next.
But there's a hurdle in his way. The $2,500 entry fee goes out the window when his dad loses his job. And while we're on the subject of his family, let's find out who they are. Although you rarely interact with them outside of the home, you all congregate at meal times to talk. Unless there's something more exciting on the television. There's Gordon, Willy's father. His personality seems to switch wildly between broken man and confident smooth talker. He's nice enough, but he'll put his foot down when it's needed. For example, he takes away your Nintari because you got a C.
I mean, come on, a C really isn't that bad, is it? I mean, I got mainly C's and I'm fine. Shine your shoes, Bab.
Sheila, Willy's mom, she seems happy in her own little world, just going about her family life, not really caring too much what happens around her, as long as there's food on the table and everyone is happy. Although sometimes she doesn't really seem to care what happens to Willy. Brianna, Willy's younger sister, is harmless enough. She just wants to play. Other than that, she doesn't have a massive role in the game, other than to talk French at the dinner table and generally show off.
Oh, f*** off.
Tiffany, Willy's older sister, is your no-brained typical valley girl.
Like totally.
She's obsessed with her weight, loves boys and hangs out at the mall. But if she doesn't get her own way, she will rebel.
Was Sinead or rebellion?
And finally, there's dead Granddad.
Obviously.
He's a ghost and Willy's conscience. It's up to you whether you want to listen to him. Sometimes his advice is useful and sometimes he's just an annoyance.
Hey, anybody see a ghost?
Along the way you encounter a number of characters who are there to trip you up. Generally, it's as easy as giving them something from your backpack inventory and they'll leave you alone. Your best friends Dana and Perry
Hello, Miss Pearson, good morning.
hang out in your shared treehouse. You can visit them there for a chat or hang out around Frumpton. Perry feels like he's just kind of tagging along. He's only there for the baseball cards, because Dana is the one you're going to need help from. because you're going to have to use her for her frog.
Yes, that's right, Willy Beamish has a large frog element, putting it alongside those classics such as Frogger, Super Frog, Frogger 2?
And his frog is called Horny. You know, like a horny toad. And yes, a toad is a frog.
And herein lies the second, third, fourth plot element. I'm losing track now. You need to get the $2,500 to be able to enter the Nintari Championship. It's turning into a very competitive game.
Later.
While Willy's trying to sort out his own predicaments, Frumpton is slowly being taken over by a sweetener company
A sweetener company? Perfect. Next.
called Toot Sweet.
Yep, great. We'll call it a day.
Run by Frog's Legs lover Leona Humphrey and her better half Lewis, she manages to sweet talk the unions into calling a plumber's strike. This causes Frumpton to fill with sludge, leaving everyone at their mercy. Leona hires the newly fired Gordon as their spokesman and fall guy, but when he won't play ball, she kidnaps him and hangs him above a giant toilet. And so that's another thing added to Willy's already busy to-do list. Rescue Dad.
And those are the main plot points. If you don't do them in the right order though, it can really screw up your playthrough and it can be very frustrating.
So, you've won the frog jump, got the money you need to enter the Nintari Championship, and save your dad. But if you didn't take the time to practice Nintari, you will crash and burn when you get to the finals, making the last 4 days a complete waste of time.
I suppose that gives it an element of replayability, as things that can be detrimental to your playthrough you can go back and do again. But I suppose that depends on your disposition.
Despite a greatly reduced colour palette on the Amiga, 32 colours compared to the PC and Macintosh's 256, and much longer loading times, Willy still got good reviews across the board, regardless of the platform it was played on.
But with the advent of CD technology, Tunnel knew that Willy needed touching up.
I was waiting for that.
Come on, I need to make at least one Willy joke.
With the huge space afforded to them, CDs could make the game even more like their original vision, with more animation and voice acting. The PC CD version looked and sounded great, but the Sega CD version was not quite what they'd hoped for. Sega had been overconfident in the system and its power, and it ended up with washed out colours and long loading times. Tunnel has since said that he wouldn't have bothered if he'd have known the outcome. The only real addition to the Sega CD version was a playable minigame called Super Space Canoid Tricks, which would replace a cutscene in the other versions of the game. It was a weird Space Invaders Tetris mashup, where you fire at rocks that embed themselves in the floor that you then need to avoid. You can die from the rocks building up, or from being hit by enemies. Sadly, some sections have not aged particularly well, and don't feel appropriate in today's woke society. A section involving a Chinese family who misunderstand your English for comic effect seems a little borderline.
Everybody move in real tight. The boy says move to the right.
But they then go on to become ninjas who protect you later in the game.
You know, just to push the stereotype katana a little bit deeper.
The references also come at you from all angles. There's a subplot about a vampire babysitter who feeds you maggots.
How are those maggots?
You nearly get your head kicked in by a West Side Story style gang. Or you can take a wrong turn and end up in the Twilight Zone.
This is Pastrami Quest.
Musicians are also mentioned. Guns N' Noses, Bob Dylan, Twisted Mister.
Some characters are even based on real life personalities. News anchor Stan Lather, British chef Julia Childish, and villain Leona Humphrey.
I had to Google most of them.
There are some nice little touches, such as the trouble meter, which goes up or down depending on how well you behave, ultimately ending in boot camp if you misbehave too much. And you can skip forward in time if you feel like you've done everything for the day. But overuse of this can mean that you miss dinner and... You get the idea.
Although they were going for a kid-friendly approach, it was clearly aimed at an older generation.
There is a lot of adult content.
Wow, check out Miss June. Is she a picture of plumbing pulchritude or what?
This is the 5th time you've called me today, you miserable pervert.
This could be serious. I can't tell if you have a bruise or a contusion.
To me, it feels more like something from Adult Swim than a children's Saturday morning cartoon.
It was a weird experience playing it back as an adult. Nostalgia for it had clearly got the better of me. The cutscenes were really long, and it did begin to feel a lot like a series of QuickTime events, something they tried to avoid.
I'd say at least 2/3 of the game were made up of you either having to make a decision which will impact what happens next, or you have to do something incredibly quickly or the game will end. Easy fella, that was an accident, honest.
There was a sequel in the pipeline known as The Further Adventures of Willy Beamish. It looked like it followed an older Willy on a family vacation, but without Tunnel's involvement, it didn't get any further than development. Although Dynamix continued for another 10 years, including the production of Space Quest 5, it was not a pleasant journey, and they closed on August the 14th, 2001. So, if this video has piqued your interest, go along to gog.com now to get some Willy.
Okay, now we're even. Yo dude, today we're in 80s, 90s America where everything is awesome, tubular, radical and other such words. I don't know about you, but I'd love a Twinkie and a Crystal Pepsi.